principles.
Honourable Phil Heatley.
I think it's worth, now that the Labor Party are reaching the dizzying heights of 28%, to contemplate what a Green-led government may look like. We know that the Greens are putting out policy proposals on a sort of a fortnightly basis, which the Labor Party are picking up here, there and everywhere. They're not doing any particular thinking about it, but they believe that because the Greens are set to overtake them in the polls, it's well worth picking up their policy choices. For example, the capital gains tax, a tax which the Labor Party says won't affect the family home. I'm not sure about what they call second-hand homes, whether they'd be affected, but we know that that capital gains tax will also be applied to every business owner, every shareholder, every farm owner, those whose assets increase. It could be anything to do with anything that they own. And I do warn listeners that should you get a Greens-led government, it might be worth looking at any asset that increases in capital value, because it could be subject to that tax. I myself are saying to my son, hide your stamp collection. Hide your stamp collection, because there could be a capital gain and that be taxed. Anyway, Mr Speaker, the fact of the matter is we're looking at a poll result where the Greens could be in charge of New Zealand in a Greens-led coalition. And I would like to correct Judith Collins, because she did say that when Labor doesn't want to appear on TV, they send Sue Moroney. That's not actually true. Statistically, they send a spokesman from the Green Party, because we see Russell Norman and Materia Ture and other Green Party members out on government policy a lot more than we do David Shearer. But as I say, Mr Speaker, we do know that the Green Party is eyeing cabinet positions. Russell Norman wants to be Finance Minister. That ambassador for the printing press, Russell Norman, wants to make sure that he is Finance Minister. He wants to have a third of the cabinet ministers as Green Party members. And you can understand why that is, because essentially the Labor Party caucus, as we know, is so small now it can fit in a corporate box. So they're going to actually have to draw on. They're going to have to draw on cabinet ministers from the Green Party. So I took the time to read Green Party policy and a little bit about the Green Party members of Parliament. Now, this is on the current Green Party website and talks about that potential Cabinet Minister, Catherine Delahunty. And in her words, she says this: left-wing Wellington in the 70s was full of skiisms and isms, and frankly it made more sense for me to become a hippie, she says. We had aspirations, said Catherine Delahunty, that we could completely drop out, and we lived in a fairly fractious state of collective confusion, but we grew great vegetables. That's from Catherine Delahunty. I'm a future Cabinet Minister. I met my partner on a toxic tour of the country, she says, and I've been passionate about toxics ever since. David Clendon is also on the Green Party website, future Cabinet Minister under a Greens-led government. He says, before entering Parliament, Dave worked at the coalface of Eco Enterprise, which I thought was an unfortunate turn of events for a party against mining for him to be working at the coalface. He goes on to say, my only real fear of being a parliamentarian is that I won't take sufficient advantage of this opportunity, but ultimately there's such a lot to learn and I need to figure out the place before I can play the game. David, you do if you're going to be around Cabinet, certainly. And Gareth Hughes on the Green Party website says of himself, the 31-year-old admits to being a bit of a munter who was into cars and girls in his younger days. However, his outlook on life underwent a major overhaul. The world opened up when I went to Vic University, he says. I started out intending to study commerce, but after stuffing up my enrolment, I decided to drop any papers that sounded boring. Good on you, Gareth Hughes, future Cabinet Minister with the Labor Party and Greens. He says, no doubt people will call me young and inexperienced, but I'd rather be judged on my merits, not my age, he says. I don't have any parliamentary experience, he says, but I've got energy. We all do, Mr Hughes. So there we have it, a little lineup of what a Labor Greens coalition would look like. I hope the country's got some confidence in that.
Grant Robertson.
Mr Speaker, I'm sure we're all grateful for the lessons from Mr Heatley on being in